Welcome. In the last session, we have seen Whittaker's five kingdom classification briefly. So, in this session, I'm going to discuss each of that kingdom in detail. Okay, so let's see the first kingdom, Monera. Okay, right. So, this Monera it includes prokaryotes. So, it includes prokaryotes. Okay, unicellular organisms, all those prokaryotic organisms and unicellular organisms are kept under this kingdom Monera. We know already prokaryotes who lack nucleus. So they lack nucleus. So they don't have nuclear membrane and they have a nucleus like structure that I will discuss in coming sessions. Okay. Then the members of this group are cosmopolitan. So they are cosmopolitan in distribution, which means they are present all over the world. So they are present everywhere, and we will also see them in soil, water, okay, in deserts also we will see them. So they are present, okay, everywhere in the world. That is called cosmopolitan in distribution, and these are most abundant organisms. Most abundant organisms means they are present, okay, in large number when compared with any other group of organisms. So they are most abundant organisms present on this earth. Okay, right. And we see them, okay, living in soil. So they live in soil, okay, and they also seen living in waters and also in extreme habitats. In extreme habitats, right? So these extreme habitats include, okay, hot springs. So they include hot springs, then deserts, so where the temperatures go very high, and of course in hot springs also the temperatures will go, okay, to 100 degrees Celsius. And we also see them living in snow where the temperatures is very less, and also in deep oceans. So also in deep ocean, so we find, okay, these bacteria so growing almost everywhere. So that's why I have mentioned here, so cosmopolitan in distribution. So every part of the world we have the bacteria presence, right? Next up, okay, so these bacteria may be autotrophic. So they are autotrophic. So not all are autotrophic. Okay, some are autotrophic and some are, okay, heterotrophic. Autotrophic and some are heterotrophic. Okay, so they don't synthesize the food materials, and they live as parasites or saprophytes. So parasites and saprophytes, we know already the meaning of parasites. Okay, so that draw nutrients from its host, or they may depend, okay, for shelter and for reproduction and also for the food on the host. So whatever that organism so that depends for these things is a parasite. And saprophytes, okay, who actually grow on a substratum. So if it is a usually all those substrata will be the food materials, and if that food materials, so in that case, if the food materials are solid, when they grow on that, okay, they are going to release the enzymes, and that enzymes are going to digest this, okay, solid food. So going to convert this solid food. Okay, you can see here due to, so these are all bacteria growing on them, and they release enzymes, and the enzymes will convert this solid food into liquid food. So you can see here it's being converted into liquid food. So that is liquid food, and that liquid food will be absorbed through space. Okay, so liquid food, okay, the solid food is converted to liquid food, and that is absorbed by, okay, through the body surface. Okay, so that is their autotrophic. Okay, and we'll also see some are heterotrophic, that may live as, okay, that may live as parasitic or saprophytic forms. I would like to make one small correction instead of some, so I'll mention majority, okay, of these bacteria are heterotrophs. Okay, so majority, so here of course some are, okay, autotrophic and some are, okay, heterotrophic, but the majority of them are the heterotrophic bacteria. Okay, then coming to reproduction. Coming to reproduction, so how reproduction takes place here, the reproduction will involve, okay, both asexual mode and also sexual mode of reproduction. Okay, so here the asexual mode of reproduction, it involves in production of spores. So they produce spores. By production of spores, of course in sexual reproduction also we will see the formation of spores. Okay, and those spores will be different because they are all formed by the union of gametes and all. Okay, the life cycle will be different, so that we will see. So in asexual mode of reproduction, there we see the formation of spores. Coming to the sexual mode of reproduction, here mainly I will talk about three things. One, this sexual reproduction can happen with transformation, okay, then transduction, and then conjugation. So these are three different modes of sexual reproduction that we see in case of these bacteria. So what actually is this transformation? Is transformation. So here transformation is simply the uptake of genetic material, uh, okay, from its surroundings, so it is called, okay, the transformation. So if a bacteria is present, okay, here, and you can see if these are some fragments of DNA. So these are DNA fragments, and the bacteria has the ability to take these DNA fragments into it, and then those DNA fragments can become part of its genome. So these DNA fragments will become part of its genome. So then the condition, and I mean the type of sexual reproduction is called transformation. Okay. Then coming to transduction. So here, in case of transduction, okay, so here the genetic material will be transferred from one bacterium to another bacterium through viruses. So here the genetic material is transferred from one bacterium to another bacterium. Okay, so through virus. So virus will carry, okay, that DNA from one bacterium to and another bacterium. So in that case, the condition is called transduction. And coming to the third one, conjugation. So here conjugation will be the transfer of that genetic material between two bacteria directly. So where it results in a formation of a conjugation tube. So here this is one bacterium and this is another bacterium, and here the genetic material will be transferred, okay, through this conjugation tube, through conjugation tube from one bacterium to another bacterium. So if it takes place, okay, directly the two bacteria coming together and okay, exchanging the genetic material, then that we call it conjugation. And if it is through the viruses, then it is called transduction. And if the bacteria is able to take DNA fragments from its surrounding and then, okay, make them as a part of its genome, then it's called transformation. So these are three modes of sexual reproduction that take place in case of bacteria. Now, these bacteria are classified into, okay, different types based on their shape. So we'll see based on the shape. Okay, so bacteria are classified into four categories, classified into four categories. Okay, so they are, okay, cocci, okay, cocci bacteria, and then bacilli, right, and then spirilla, and then, okay, the last one will be, right, vibrio. So these are, okay, different bacteria based on shape. So here I mentioned with the plural. So actually singular is coccus. So here singular is bacillus. Okay, so singular here spirillum, and here singular is vibrium. Okay, so here the cocci bacteria will be round in shape. So that is they are spherical in shape. Then coming to bacilli, so these will be rod shaped. Okay, so the rod shaped bacteria, so rod shaped bacteria are called, okay, bacilli. Then coming to spirali, so these are spiral in shape. So you will see, okay, like this. So these are spiral shaped bacteria. Then coming to vibrio, so in this case they are comma shaped. So you'll see, so these are, okay, comma shaped bacteria, right? So these are different types of bacteria. I mean, of course, only four types we have, and they are all classified based on their shape. Uh, the bacteria are divided into two main groups. So all those bacteria which are included under the kingdom Monera, okay, so they are divided into two main groups. So that is one called archaea bacteria and another one called bacteria. Okay, so here actually the archaea, which means ancient, and in this case which means true. So true bacteria and ancient bacteria here. Okay. Now under this archaeobacteria we have different groups. So they include halophiles, then thermoacidophiles, and then methanogens. So then methanogens. Okay, so those are different groups of archaeobacteria. So later we'll see about eubacteria, so that will include autotrophic and heterotrophic bacteria also. Of course, the archaeobacteria also include autotrophic as well as heterotrophic types of bacteria. Okay, so here first we'll see about this archaeobacteria, and then later we'll see about eubacteria. Okay, so under the archaeobacteria, first we'll see about the halophiles. So archaeobacteria. So under that, first we'll see about halophiles. Okay, so these halophiles are the bacteria that live in extreme salty areas. So they live in extreme salty areas. So they live in extreme salty areas. Okay, uh, all those bacteria who live in such locations, they are called halophiles, and examples include halococcus. So halococcus, and then halobacterium, etc., are some examples of halophiles here. Okay, so here archaeobacteria itself, they live in extreme conditions. So they live in extreme conditions. Okay, and that is extreme conditions, which means harsh environmental conditions. So harsh environmental conditions. Okay, and here their cell wall actually is made up of polysaccharides and proteins, but without peptidoglycan. In case of eubacteria, you find peptidoglycan. So here archaeobacteria cell wall is composed of, so its cell wall is composed of polysaccharides plus proteins, composed of polysaccharides plus proteins. Okay, no peptidoglycan, no peptidoglycan is present. So it's mainly composed of polysaccharides and proteins. Whereas in case of eubacteria, they will have peptidoglycan. Okay, so they live in extreme conditions, that is harsh environmental conditions. So one we have seen the halophiles who live in very salty areas. Then coming to the second one, thermoacidophiles. So thermoacidophiles. So here these bacteria, that live in high temperatures. So live in high temperatures. Okay, and in low pH conditions. So high temperatures and low pH conditions. So here low pH, which means acidic conditions. So that is highly acidic, highly acidic. And high temperatures we see like in hot springs. So like in hot springs around 100 degrees Celsius, you will see these organisms growing. So that is why thermoacidophils. So those who like the temperature and also acidic conditions. So they are called thermoacidophiles. So examples of this include thermoplasma. So it includes thermoplasma, right? And sulfolobus, Okay, so that sulfolobus, etc. So this thermoplasma, it lives in very hot temperatures, that is in hot acidic springs. It lives in hot acidic springs. Okay, so those are a few examples for these thermoestrophiles. Then lastly, we will see about methanogens. See about methanogens. Okay, so here these are the bacteria that live in marshy areas, so marshy areas are actually filled with water. So water will be present all the time, and you will see mostly they are all dominated by grasses. So you'll see, okay, grass is growing here. Okay, so this is all water, so all the time, and grasses. So usually these marshy areas you will find on the sides of a river where the water flow almost stops. So there won't be water flow, and there will be all the time the water stagnation, that what we see. And you will see the grasses growing, so half submerged and half above the water you will see all the time. So those areas we call them marshy areas. And we see, okay, these bacteria, that is methanogens, growing in such areas, okay, marshy areas. So this is a marshy area. Okay, so then these are actually either rod or spiral shaped bacteria. So they are rod or spiral shaped bacteria, and these methanogens are, so they are sensitive to oxygen. So they are sensitive to oxygen. Okay, so usually they don't like to live in the presence of oxygen, so they live in the absence of oxygen, right? And here we will also see these methanogens living in, okay, the gut of ruminant animals. So methanogens are also seen living in gut of ruminant animals, seen in the gut of ruminant animals. So what are actually ruminant animals? So ruminant animals are, okay, those animals that chew cud. So that chew cud. So cud, usually, like when you see in case of cows, buffaloes, almost all herbivorous animals, so after they eat the plant material, okay, the plant material will get soaked in one of the stomachs, okay, and then okay, so they sit in a place, a shady place, and then whatever that soaked material from the stomach, they bring it back into the mouth. Okay, that is called cud, and now they start chewing that cud. So that is what we call, I mean, all those animals who do that process are called ruminant animals, right? So here we see these methanogens present in, okay, in them also. Okay, so whenever, okay, some when they belch, okay, so they may even release the methane gas that is produced in their stomachs. Okay, so that is methanogens are also seen living in the gut of those ruminant animals. Okay, so here I'll just give an equation that how the methane is produced. Okay, so carbon dioxide, right, when reacting with the hydrogen. Okay, so this will result in the formation of methane. So here there is a production of methane, and also there is a release of water. So here this is a equation that I'm showing how the methane is produced by these methanogens, right? So one example of this is methanobacteria. So methanobacterium is an example for these methanogens. Okay, so that's all about the archaeobacteria. So that includes right dermoacidophiles, halophiles, and then methanogens. See about eubacteria. So the next one, eubacteria, right? So here these eubacteria have a rigid cell wall that contains peptidoglycan. So they have peptidoglycan in their cell walls. So they have peptidoglycan in their cell walls. Okay, and the cell wall is a rigid structure. Okay, and then if motile means if they are capable of moving, they have flagella. So or if they have flagella, they will be able to move. Okay, and this eubacteria, we'll see that's classified into autotrophic autotrophic bacteria and heterotrophic bacteria. So under the autotrophic bacteria, we have two different categories of bacteria depending on the source of energy. So depending on the source of energy. So one, it is photoautotrophic. So this tells us that the photoautotropic, the source of energy will be the light. So in this case, and the next one, chemoautotropic. So chemoautotropic. So photoautotropic bacteria and chemoautotropic bacteria. So under heterotrophic bacteria, we include saprophytic, parasitic, and whatever all who are not capable of preparing their own food materials. Of course, they don't perform uh, the I mean any kind of right either photo or chemo mode of nutrition. So in that case, they all become heterotrophic bacteria. Don't synthesize their own food. Okay, so now we'll see these autotrophic bacteria first, and then later we'll see about heterotrophic bacteria. Okay, so autotrophic bacteria. So under the autotrophic bacteria, first we'll see about photoautotrophic bacteria. Photoautotrophic bacteria. So this photoautotrophic bacteria, it mainly includes mainly cyanobacteria. So these cyanobacteria are called blue green algae. So in short, we call BGA. So the blue green algae in short, I mean in short called BGA, right? So it includes cyanobacteria. So here the name may be confusing. We may think they are algae, but they are not algae. So they are bacteria. So the blue green algae are not algae; they are bacteria. Okay, and these okay, cyanobacteria, so they have chlorophyll A. So they have chlorophyll A. So just like how we have seen in case of green algae, okay, so they also have this photosynthetic pigment, that is chlorophyll A. So in earlier, so they have confused that, they thought these are also the algae, so that's why they have named it blue green algae. Of course, now we are not classifying these cyanobacteria under algae. They have been removed from them, and then they have been introduced, kept under or included under the kingdom Monera. Okay, so they have chlorophyll A molecules that is similar to the green plants, that is algae. Then, so these cyanobacteria, so they are, okay, colonial. So they, you may see in a colony like, so they are colonial or filamentous forms, you may also see, or unicellular, means, okay, they are made up of only one cell, the body, okay, may be made up of only one cell. So here colonial, which means, okay, in colony, okay, and filamentous, which means, okay, chain like. So if in some there may be like a chain, you may see present in colony, or some you will see in unicellular forms. With this I will end today's session. So in the next session I'll continue discussing the further characters of this right the photoautotropic bacteria or cyanobacteria. We'll see in detail in the next session.